All right, welcome back to Bleck and AZ's Fantasy Hour.
We're back.
I have returned.
Azure's back.
Yeah, it was a nice little week off. Got to go down to Chicago for a few days. Went to a Cubs game, went to a concert, went to some museums, a couple of different art stuff. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. I'm not really a big baseball guy, but the game I went to was actually pretty sick. Pete Crow Armstrong hit a cycle. Got to the game kind of late, sat down, first pitch, homer.
Nice.
Reverse cycle, it was sick. He
right.
homered, then he tripled, and I was like, oh, okay, he can get a cycle.
Yeah.
And then he got the double, then he ended up getting the single at the end of the game.
That's sick.
They ended up coming back, winning the ninth. It was a walk-off. It was easily the sickest baseball game I'll ever go to.
Basically everything you could ask for.
Yeah, Wrigley Field was awesome. The crowd was electric.
Sure,
there was 40,000 people there, sold out, chanting, standing up the whole game.
Well, maybe one of the top 5 most iconic baseball diamonds, right?
Yeah, it was sick. It was honestly it made me almost like baseball.
Almost.
Yeah, but I'm glad to be back. Happy Father's Day to Bleck over here. I hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, looked like you guys enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad to be back for sure. Bleck held it down last week. On my drive back from Chicago, I did spend some time listening to it.
What'd you think?
Ricky Pearsall.
My guy.
That's just come on, man. That's got to be some bias there.
There's definitely a little
top
bias,
15,
for sure.
Ricky Pearsall.
That was one of the bold predictions. That wasn't a flag plant, but I do think that he's going to be way better than wide receiver 39 on the year.
That's fair.
I find that
suppose
to be kind of crazy.
He shows some flashes. I get it. Yeah.
And he's had a rough start to his career. You know, the shooting injury and last year just having a hard time staying on the field. But I mean he's well positioned within that offense.
The thing with a lot of those guys is really can they play 17 games?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Because I think he did have a stretch last year where the first 3 or 4 games he had he was averaging 80 yards a game or something like that.
And again, 31st overall when he was drafted, he decent draft capital invested into him.
Yeah.
And the room is kind of fit for him to be the guy with the most targets, maybe?
Yeah, he was a good player at Florida. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how what shakes out with Mike Evans and Christian McCaffrey, obviously.
I mean, Christian Kirk's the third receiver there. I'm not really, I'm not intimidated by his presence in the wide receiver.
No, I would agree as well.
Yeah.
But on this week's episode, before we dive real deep into peak fantasy season, moving into July and August, figured we'd do a ranking episode. And we were torn a little bit between doing just overall power rankings or quarterbacks, but I think quarterback ranking sounds a lot more fun.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more fun. And just a little different too, being, a fantasy show as we are, obviously quarterback is critical to not only your fantasy team, but all the other players on your fantasy team, all the position groups really.
Yeah, quarterbacks are the drivers of the offense. They are the catalyst of the offense.
For sure.
And having a better quarterback makes everybody around them better, and it can make up for a lot of deficiencies in a lot of different areas. And when you're looking at fantasy players, like you said, not just the quarterbacks, but the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, having an elite quarterback goes a long way.
Yeah, it's said to be the most important position in all sports, and
100%.
Hard to argue against.
I mean, you have the ball almost every single play. And outside of that too, it's just you were with the NFL culture in America, you are the face of your city almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the best ones are the face of the league. You know? So
yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people when they think about Buffalo nowadays really is Josh Allen.
For sure.
That's a prime example.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving into the list, starting it off, I think I took a quick look over Bleck's. I think he looked over mine as well. So I see we have some differences, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, didn't get enough of a peek, so don't mind my
Bleck's a lot more organized than me. He's got a nice notebook. He takes notes every week. I just grabbed something off my fridge that my roommate had there and wrote some stuff on it.
Thank you.
It says to you, whatever that means. I think his mom left this at the house. as well as the pen we had as well. So
perfect.
Starting off at number 1 though, thank God me and Bleck both have the same person at number 1.
Might be the only one we have in common.
I would have been upset if he didn't. Number 1, best quarterback in the NFL, Josh Allen.
No bias.
Nope. I mean, I am biased. I don't care. But I mean it too when I say it. And I've been saying it for a while.
You have, for sure.
Josh Allen is just, if this guy had a Super Bowl or 2 at this point, we'd be talking about top 5 all time maybe at this point. I mean, there's a realistic chance that Josh Allen finishes his career top 10 in passing touchdowns and top 10 in rushing touchdowns. Maybe even higher than that, really.
And truthfully, without a Super Bowl even, probably a first ballot Hall of Famer at this point.
Oh,
And
I
he
would
still
say
has
so.
another 5 to 7 years to go at least.
Minimum, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he's got like 70-something rushing touchdowns right now.
All-time leader for quarterback, if I'm not mistaken.
By the end of this season, I mean, he could pass like, I don't know if he already has passed Thurman. He might be the Bills' all-time rusher anyways.
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, but I think he has a really legit chance to move into the top 10 like this year, I'm pretty sure.
Which is insane.
Crazy.
For a quarterback,
really
that's
crazy.
Absolutely insane.
I was looking at it the other day, like, I mean, he's about to pass guys like Frank Gore, like on like the all-time like rushing touchdown. Like, it's crazy. Marshawn Lynch, like guys like that.
So also to preface, like with these rankings, we kind of took like a 1-year outlook on the perspective, and as far as just further lamenting Josh as the one, I think his receiver room has improved. He now has, the full scope of what Joe Brady's wanted to do is now basically at his disposal. And I think that, adding a more vertical threat like DJ Moore only plays more into Josh Allen's strengths. And that could even open up for even more rushing yards, more rushing touchdowns. I think that it really does give him every opportunity. And I expect him to upgrade receiver again throughout his career, but just going into this year, I wouldn't rather.
He's just
be
a
fan of
one-man
different
show.
quarterback, for sure.
I mean, these guys, like the memes they make of like the only quarterback ever, because there's just so many instances of where he's doing things that people have never done.
The 6 touchdown games are insane.
Yeah, three passing, 3 rushing. Like,
Twice.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, he is a one-man offense and doesn't need to be all the time, but he can be.
Yeah.
And I just don't think there's really any other guy that can do that.
Yeah.
Just having Josh Allen on this team alone makes us a top 5 offense pretty much at any given moment, regardless of who else is on the team.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. So I'm glad that we could agree on that. I'm sure that maybe around the country it'll be a little bit of a dispute. I do think I have mine broken up in tiers. I don't know if you made like a tier.
Yeah, I've got sort of pseudo tiers. I threw this list together with all vibes, very little research. So I'll probably
That's how we do things.
That's very not how I do things.
That's how I do things.
But I will probably end up mixing around some of these names just in hindsight.
I think that maybe 1 year. I think I based it more upon like how I view these guys entering this year.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily give younger guys a boost because of their long-term outlook, but just how I view them entering this year.
Yeah, not exactly like a fantasy quarterback ranking, but
no.
I would say that for my rankings at least, there was a little bit of influence with it, but I will obviously let this unfold and see how it goes.
Yeah, I do have pretty much like I have 10 tiers written down, and I think the big 3 for me was pretty clear cut and dry, but at 2 I have Pat Mahomes. I think that Mahomes, regardless of the ACL injury, is a first ballot Hall of Famer. One of the best quarterback talents we've ever seen, really. For me, it's like kind of clear. I think we can make a case for him as number 1, and maybe that is where the bias comes in. Maybe the injury holds him back a little bit. Maybe because they're all coming off a down year. Pat Mahomes is the first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's still in his prime.
Now, I do agree with that. I don't have Pat Mahomes 2. I don't have him 3. I don't have him 4. I have him a little bit further down this list, and we'll get to him when we get to him. But I am definitely a little bit concerned with the ACL. Definitely a little bit concerned with his weaponry. I don't know how much Rashee Rice we're going to see this year, although as of right now, I think he's expected to start the season, but
I guess I didn't really take
their situation.
I didn't take their weapons into account. I was just going off talent and how I view them as individuals.
It's funny. I'm gonna bring up a lot of random different things that kind of led me to slotting some of these guys where I did, but I'm not gonna argue that Pat Mahomes is a first ballot Hall of Famer, that he's an all-time top 10 quarterback if he retired today. But just going into this year. And again, I don't really want to lean on if this was fantasy kind of takes with every one of these slots, but I'm not drafting him in fantasy. I'm not a fan of a known Travis Kelce in his very last year being I don't know, their leading producer in the pass game. Granted, that should be Rashee Rice if he's on the field all season, but if he's not, that leaves massive holes.
Man, at this point, I feel like Rashee Rice is going to play. I mean,
he will.
He might miss he might get suspended for a couple games, but I mean,
he's not even really the most unknown piece. It's really how Mahomes is healing, and given the fact that they were scheduled a primetime game week 1, right, Sunday night with the Broncos, I believe. The league has to know that he's on track to to play that game.
Yeah, I think he's going to play.
I mean,
he's been taking part in like OTAs and stuff.
I wouldn't think that they would put the Chiefs in primetime week 1 if they didn't think Pat Mahomes.
Come on, Justin Fields, bro.
Game. True. I do like Justin Fields, but he's not on this list at all.
Thank God. Well, where do you have Mahomes?
All the way down at 9, but I think I'd bump him to 8. I don't really like what I did with 9 and 8, but we'll get to
That's
that
kind of you.
when we get there. That is kind of me.
My next at 3 and to finish out this tier is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
but part of the big 3.
And I had Lamar as the very clear number 2, and I kind of tiered it off as Josh and Lamar in the first tier. Again, just with the outlook of this season.
I think all of them are really interchangeable. I think the
agree.
biggest thing for me is really just like Lamar's lack of playoff success. I think Lamar is arguably the most talented of all 3 of them, really.
Yeah.
And I mean that wholeheartedly. He's insane. I mean, 2-time MVP.
Right.
One of the greatest rushing talents, if not the greatest rushing talent we've seen at the position. And the way he's developed as a passer, too, really. I mean, he barely turns the ball over. He makes good decisions. It's not like he's ever really had elite weapons to work with.
That's true.
And then, like I said, though, really what it comes down to is I think he's 3-5 in the playoffs. And he just, his game definitely, he underperforms as well. When you look at the splits of his stats in the regular season versus the playoffs, it's not just that, his team's kind of letting him down. I mean, he has like an 84 passer rating in the playoffs. I think he has 10 touchdowns versus like 7 picks in 8 games. Like, he really hasn't shown up in some of those bigger games. So that's the only thing for me when compared to Josh and Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean,
I know that you can make a kid. It's not like Josh has won a Super Bowl or even been to a Super Bowl,
right.
but he's 8-7 in the playoffs, and he has some of the most insane playoff stats, if not the best playoff stats of any quarterback ever. So it's hard for me to kind of discredit him for some of those games.
Yeah, no, I mean, complete agreement that Lamar Jackson deserves the recognition to be up here. Like you said, MVP winner, constantly just stuffing stat sheets, does things on the ground that I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback do. The only one that ever comes close is Mike Vick, but I mean, that was a completely different era of football where he was able to thrive.
Yeah.
I don't know who's the better quarterback if you put Vick in this era.
Lamar might not. It's not even like he's the most elusive quarterback ever. I mean, he's one of the most elusive players ever.
Right.
I mean, he's insane in the open field.
Yeah.
One of the hardest players to tackle in the open field in NFL history, playing a quarterback position. I am glad about this next slot though, because I debated it a little bit, but
we're in lockstep here.
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
This is the start of my next tier. So I have the big 3, and then they're kind of like a 1A, and then these next 2 are like a 1B for me.
Yeah, no, I also have Stafford on my list. He's number 3, but looking at this year alone, I mean, they are running it back, and
reigning MVP.
Great success with it last year, so I have no reason to fear Stafford going.
Yeah, I mean, his arm hasn't really dropped off at all.
No, the only thing to be concerned about is that he's just 1 year older, really, and that his.
Yeah, he's a tough dude and always has been. He's taken a beating over his career, especially playing all those years for the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he still is able to fight through it, and like I said, I mean, his arm really hasn't dropped off at all.
Yeah, as long as he can remain upright for the majority of these games, which as long as the offensive line stays healthy through the majority of the season,
Matt
that shouldn't be a
Stafford
problem.
in that offense with Sean McVay and those weapons, I mean, he's going to put up numbers. 100%.
And now too, I mean, with the offensive line, even if they're not healthy, they've got 4 playable tight ends to buffer their ability to block.
4 tight end sets.
We're gonna see it, and it's gonna gross all of us out, but we're gonna see it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not, but
I hope not. If they all, I mean, they could. If they don't make this roster, they're gonna make a different one. So it's bizarre.
Finishing off my my 1B tier 2 set, I debated it, but I did put Joe Burrow. I didn't really want to, but I think the talent is undeniable. When he is on the field, I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He maneuvers the pocket very well. He's probably arguably the most accurate quarterback in the league. Obviously, there's the injury history, the lack of the playoff success since their Super Bowl run, and you could even kind of make a case that some of his stats might be a little inflated just because of the wide receiver talent he's throwing to,
or the lack of defensive talent that may be on his team.
That as well, I mean, I won't fault him for that stuff as much. Like I said though, I mean, I don't know how many times I've watched 8-yard slant to Jamar Chase turn into a 70-yard touchdown, and now all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, the dude, when healthy, is putting up 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns basically every season. So it's hard for me to take away from that. I do think that this could change next year, but Yeah, I have Joe Burrow rounding out my top 5.
So I do not have Burrow in my top 5. I do not have him behind Matt Stafford. I've got him a little bit lower on my list at 7. But for me, obviously the turf toe was an injury that you can get over a little bit easier than one of these ligament damages that we've seen a handful of other quarterbacks get over the past couple of years. But for me, what dings Joe Burrow is his just complete lack of mobility. Like, he's really not a threat on the ground by any means. And I would say that all of the names that I have above him, except for maybe Matt Stafford, who is just kind of like the outlier, who's just kind of in the perfect system, it's what decreases his...
Yeah, I mean,
I don't even want to say decrease how elite he is, because he is elite. Like you said, he's probably the best pure passer in the league, if we're being honest.
it's not like he's like a statue in the pocket.
No, he's
necessarily.
not,
He
but-
does take a lot of bad sacks. Like everybody, that talks about how bad the Bengals' offensive line is. But I think Joe Burrow tries to extend plays a lot more than he probably should, and doesn't, throw the ball away or take his first reads often.
Yeah.
And he does hold on to the ball on taking bad
and
sacks.
he doesn't take off with it, and that's kind of like
That's
kind of the point that I'm getting at here, is just that there's not a threat. Like, he can extend the play and find the guy down the field, but he's not taking it upon himself to go pick up a first down.
Not very often.
No, very rarely.
I don't think they even want him to do that at this point.
Especially coming off turf toe, I wouldn't expect it this year either.
I do love who you have at number 4, though, surprisingly.
Yeah, big shocker. I have Caleb Williams as my 4th best quarterback coming into the season.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the system that's in place. The building of chemistry with the weapons that are currently there. They're all, primed up and ready to, do better than they did last year, to develop even further. And they won their division and the 2 seed. Again, I feel like I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when we were going over maybe just like the general ADP in some of these leagues. I don't understand why they're not given more credit for winning a really tough division with a brand new coach. I mean, I guess I get that they get a little bit of a book out on them, and there's some things that you can pick up on.
There was the turnover luck, that they say, because I think they led the league with like 33 turnovers, something like that, and then all the comeback wins that just kind of felt like fluky to some people. But
Sure.
I agree all the way. I get that. I have Caleb Williams next at 6, starting out the top of the next tier for me, and I wouldn't be surprised, and I fully expect him to probably be 4 for me going into next season.
Yeah.
It's funny that you have Caleb higher than I do, but I agree with everything you said, and I think Caleb Williams, he's like everyone always makes like the Mahomes comparison since he came into the league, and Caleb Williams is the closest thing I've seen since the first couple years of Mahomes. I mean, just like his playmaking ability, the way he can just make plays out of nothing.
Yeah, that's a real...
It's insane. And he can make any throw from anywhere, from any angle.
Made a couple throws this year that are just hard to believe.
Sidearm. I mean, it's just, in some of the throws, it's like most guys wouldn't even dare to attempt those throws. You know what I mean? It's just like the level of like courage and confidence he has. I mean, his arm talent is unreal. And like I said, I totally expect them to take another leap this year. And depending on how it shakes out with Burrow and Stafford kind of aging, I would not be surprised if he moved up to 4 for me, 100%. I mean, potentially even higher depending how far they go and how the season ends up going for him. I did throw a little Caleb Williams MVP bet in while I was in Chicago.
I had to. Almost tailed it.
Yeah,
very close.
So if that ends up happening, who knows where he could be next year in the rankings. Starting off tier 3 for me, I have Caleb at 6.
6.
And I think we have the same guy next.
So I kind of had a tough time with my 5-6. Just, it's very, very thin margins. I'm not sure if you've got the same name right after. No, you don't. Okay.
Hell no.
Well, 5 for me is Justin Herbert. I mean, I kind of want to be high on him before we get to see what the new coaching staff brings for him. But I mean, he had a rough time staying upright last year. Led the league in QB hits, got hit the most times. But I mean, he's set up for success, I think, this year.
Yeah, people go back and forth with Herbert because I think when you watch him play, it's just so obvious to the talent. You know what I mean? The dude's like 6'6", has an absolute cannon. I think him, Josh, Mahomes, Caleb, Stafford, strongest arms in the league. Yeah. He's another guy that can make plays with his feet too, maybe even to an underrated degree. I think he led the NFL in scramble yards last year. I mean, part of that might have just been because of the
Desperation.
situation.
Yeah.
But I mean, regardless, I mean, he's still able to make those plays. And he's a tough guy too. You know, he's been banged up a lot.
He played a lot of the season hurt,
but he still plays through it more often than not. And then as they've transitioned the past couple of years, you know, with Harbaugh coming in and Greg Roman offense, because his first couple of years, I mean, I think he threw 5,000 yards in the second season or close to it, which is, you know, an insane stat to hit. And then past couple of years, they played a little more conservative on offense, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with Mike McDaniels this year and how they open up the offense. Yeah, I have Herbert right here too as well. I just think the talent is undeniable. The playoff woes are definitely hurting him and his legacy, and I think that's where a lot of the fan perception comes in, and people might disagree in that area. But I mean, I just think it's like, how do I like not give him his flowers and that, or how could I discredit him for that while also not discrediting guys like Burrow or like Lamar? You know what I mean? I mean, Burrow hasn't even made the playoffs in the last 3 years. So it's like
hashtag no playoffs.
Hashtag no playoffs. And we'll see if they could do something about that this year, but I'm not really sold on it.
Not overly optimistic about it.
Yeah. But moving down the list, so I'm still in my tier 3 here. I think we have some of the same guys. Looks like
I got your next one a little bit lower.
Yeah, Bleck's got Burrow at his 7. I got Herbo there. And then at 8, I have Dak Prescott. I've said it a lot on this show. I just think Dak Prescott's overhated, underrated, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he was pretty much top 3 in every statistical quarterback category the past season.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like he had some time where he was overrated. Now he's just kind of underrated.
Yeah,
because it's similar with like playoff success. I mean,
it's crazy too. It's literally just the Cowboys. I mean, if you told me there was a 5th round pick that came on to any other team and like won Offensive Rookie of the Year and has become pretty much the greatest passer in the franchise history, like this underdog story, people would love it. But
super story history too. Right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's not just
and it's like because he's on the Cowboys, they just hate him.
Yeah,
and it's not like he's a bad dude.
No,
you know? Right. He seems like a cool guy. He seems chill. You know, but everybody hates Dak. I don't know why. But he's another one, too, that gets faulted for the lack of playoff success, so I do totally understand to that degree. But, I mean, when he's healthy and on the field, I mean, I just don't think that there's that many guys that are better, just like raw, natural passers.
Yeah, and I mean, also great position. I mean, he's got probably the second
100%.
The second best wide receiver duo.
Yeah,
if not the best. Hands down. So, yeah, I mean, he's done it year in, year out, just produce like a QB1 and elite quarterback.
I've never seen a guy that puts up more 4,500 yard, like 40 touchdown seasons, and guys talk about him like he's a bum.
For them last year, it was the passing defense. It was auto start all your players against their passing defense.
Oh my God, it was so bad.
They've done a little bit to fix it at least. You know, drafting Caleb Downs 11th overall is a big help towards that. But yeah, he's is he elite?
Is he elite? I mean,
he's a great quarterback without a doubt.
I don't know if I like these, like this, the way I have my tiers, like these 3 guys are like first ballot Hall of Famers, and then Stafford for sure is a first ballot Hall of Famer, but because of the age, I dropped him down a tier, and because of the lack of mobility. Burrow is like, you know, he could be. It just really depends on if he can stay healthy or not.
Yeah.
And then in this next tier, it's like guys that they're like borderline elite, like, you know, I mean, I think guys like Caleb and Herbo and May that I have in this tier, as well as Dak, because of their age, they have a lot more chance to enter that elite territory. Mm-hmm. But I had a hard time putting Dak in like the tier below that, really, because I just do think that he is better. I think that he offers a lot more upside at this moment going into this season. I mean, a lot of these guys below him are younger as well and could easily move up, but I mean, just based off last year and what we've seen the past few years from a healthy Dak, I mean, he's like a lock for like 4,500 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's awesome.
So where are we at now? 8?
Yeah, I'm at 8. At 9, I have Drake May. Where you have him? 6?
I have him at 6, behind Herbert and ahead of Burrow. Ahead of Burrow because of his rushing ability. I mean, he's been a dual threat. At least he showed that he is very much a dual threat last year, and even the second half of his first year. But you know, I feel like there's a lot of people that have him rated higher coming into this year, and I think that is an oversight based on their schedule from last year.
Higher than 6?
Yeah. I mean, in fantasy drafts, he goes in like as a top 4.
Yeah, fantasy, yeah.
But yeah, I know. Leaning into fantasy a little too heavy for this list. But yeah, I mean, continuity, upgraded receiver room. I think he's in a good position to outperform, you know, Patrick Mahomes, dare I say it. But, long term, I want Patrick Mahomes all day, every day, no doubt about it. But yeah, just maybe reading a little too much into the 1 year outlook.
Yeah, I mean,
it leaves me with May at 6. Yeah,
I don't even really love putting May at this spot for me
Yeah.
personally. I don't know. I don't know, man. He did orchestrate potentially the best offense in the league last year on like an efficiency basis. And it's not like they played like complete bums all season long. I mean, at least not defenses. A lot of the offenses, I think they played like so many backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just crazy, their schedule. And then when he got to the playoffs and played like actually like solid teams and solid defenses, it's like he didn't really do anything at all. I mean, they won the games, but I mean, I don't know. There was very few moments where I feel like I was watching Drake May and I was like, wow, this guy's good. Like there were some, but like very, very few and far in between personally for me. I'm not gonna lie, I don't watch a lot of Patriots games, especially during the regular season. But even watching those playoff games, I mean, they squeaked by the Chargers.
Felt like they got carried
The
by
Texans
defense.
game was embarrassing. I mean, it was just like who sucks more, C.J. Stroud or Drake May? And it was C.J. Stroud.
by a lot.
Yeah, and then beating. Oh my goodness, I can't even think of his name. Who
Jason
started?
Stidham.
Jared Stidham.
Jared Stidham.
Jared Stidham. Barrett beating Jared Stidham by like a touchdown in the AFC Championship game. Like sick. And then
In the second half,
and then just
wasn't even
looking
football.
terrible against the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Like terrible. Like I think
19-0 in the first half, 16-0.
yeah, I mean threw a pick six, right? I mean
Yeah, they didn't score till late in the third.
yeah, I mean they at the end of the day, his stats didn't look that bad because they threw the ball 25 times in the fourth quarter while they were down. It was just I understand both sides of it, and that could change easily this year. If he strings together another season like he did this year, then by all means, he'll move even higher up. But I think I just need to see it one more time from him against more proven opponents for me to have him a little higher on the list.
I think that's fair, and I know that there's a inherent disdain for the Patriots, and I'd be lying if I said that doesn't creep into my mind when I try to slot him in on a list like this. But he is very much Josh Allen light. Like he's just like 90% height, weight, talent, maybe 80% talent, a little bias, but he's another year to develop into being like a real adult, not a kid, into a league where he's given the reins. I don't want to be naive to think that he isn't like that. In hindsight, he's not worth the third overall pick that he was.
Oh, I wouldn't say that at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think that he's close to Josh Allen personally, but I do think that there's a chance, maybe. I think they get a great second year for sure. I think that there's just like kind of like an asterisk next to it for me, and the playoff run kind
That's
of
fair.
just
Yeah.
really exposed a lot of
Gotta see it to believe
a lot of
it.
the things I was questioning. They kind of seemed like they got answered in the playoffs, and not in the ways that maybe a Patriots fan would like them to.
Right.
Finishing off my top 10 though, these last two guys, moving into my next tier. I could switch these guys around. Really, you could kind of sway me one way or the other. I think you have.
I have one of them in my one of them that we haven't covered yet. So
you have Jaden Daniels at 8.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have Jaden Daniels at 11, and then at my 10 spot I have Jordan Love.
Yeah, I have Jordan Love at 16, but this is the one more than any of the others that I really want to move up. I definitely am not giving him enough credit for what he does within the offense that he plays in.
He's one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL.
He is,
and it's not like he spread. It's not like he has like a true number one. He spreads the ball around. He makes the most out of all of his weapons.
Yeah, and we'll see how that shakes out this year because they did lose Dobbs. They have traded Dontavian Wicks, but they do still have Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, who they drafted, Tucker Kraft coming back. So it'll be interesting to see how those targets are kind of funneled to those four specifically without the extra two to muddy the water. Because, Dobbs was maybe wide receiver 2 or 3 at the end of the year. Maybe even 1, honestly. I really don't know.
He had the big playoff game.
Yeah. But, Jordan Love is, like you said, very, very efficient, really good on third down, has the ability to scramble a little bit if he's got to extend plays.
I think just because he's kind of just like a soft-spoken guy. He's a little quiet, and
he comes from such a storied franchise that's had 2 other quarterbacks in the last 4 decades.
I know those 2 Hall of Fame guys, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, that kind of put a lot of pressure onto him, especially coming into the league, especially even just like him being drafted, because like Aaron Rodgers was just coming off of like a borderline MVP or MVP season, and they draft Jordan Love in the first round, and it was less about Jordan Love and it was all about Aaron Rodgers' reaction to the Packers drafting Jordan Love, and it was just, I think that his just
completely
perception
different lens. Yeah.
Coming in the league, people just don't, and it's like they don't really have any like superstars. You know, it's like the Packers they just play like solid, consistent, good football and win games. It's like it's not like they have any like crazy superstar players necessarily.
Josh Jacobs is the closest thing, but he's already 28, 29.
Yeah, he's like 28, 29, something like that. And it's just, even that, it's like Josh Jacobs is, he's good. Don't get me wrong. It's like, is he like, he's like borderline top 10 running back, maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's, and even then, it's like running backs, it's like, unless you're like Bijan or Gibbs or like McCaffrey,
right. You're here for a couple of years and then you're gone.
You just don't really get thought of in that same way. But yeah, and then like you said, you have Jaden Daniels at 8. I have him at 11 here.
Yeah, I have Jaden Daniels at 8. I do a little bit of bias on him. I do have some long-term stock in him, dynasty leagues, keeper leagues, and obviously last year was a major disappointment. Even before he was injured, offense just couldn't really get moving. Terry McLaurin missed a couple of weeks early. And the hard part about being as optimistic about him as I want to be going into this year is that they've only done so much to really help the offense. Rachaad White and Jerome Ford certainly aren't needle movers in the backfield. And although Rachaad White will probably see plenty of time, he might end up being the starting running back. And then adding Antonio Williams as a wide receiver 2 potentially. They didn't rise the tides of all ships as well as I would have liked them to for this offense. Now, granted, they helped out the defense a lot with some draft value and some money in the free agency, but coming off that injury, if he can play healthy, I think he can finish the season as a top 7 quarterback. But I think my ranking at 8 is being pretty optimistic.
Yeah, the talent is there, obviously.
For sure.
He had an insane rookie season. Yeah. I think with me, personally, it's like in the NFL, I need to see more than just 1 year from a guy for me to really even like put him like that high. And I guess, I do have Caleb at 6 and May at 9. I think they are a little bit of exceptions to that. And even then, it's like I'm putting them a little lower than maybe that some people think they should be.
Right.
Because it's only been like a year or so.
And I have Caleb and Drake at 4 and 6, respectively.
Yeah.
So, not by that much.
I just still think of all the times over the years, like, like Mac Jones is an example. Look at how we thought about him after like 1 year, that 1 year in New England where they went 10-7, went to the playoffs. He was a Pro Bowl quarterback, and it's like things could just change really quickly in the NFL. One season is good. Don't get me wrong. And these guys have only played a couple of years, but I just need to see more before I can put them over some of these guys that have been doing it year in, year out for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, like a Dak Prescott, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree.
But yeah, I have Daniels at 11, and you could sway me to put him at 10 with Love, because of the talent. And he could easily move up this list with another season like he had his rookie year. But yeah, that's just where I have him right now. I have Love, Daniels in this 4th tier for me. And then after that, at 12 and 13, which is also interchangeable in my opinion, to finish off this tier, I have Jared Goff and Brock Purdy.
I've got one of the two.
Yeah. I think I probably have Goff a lot higher than most people. And I think that Goff suffers from some of the same bias that other people like Joe Burrow that we brought up. It's like, he's more of a product of the system, I guess you could say. He's surrounded by so much talent.
Right.
And I just don't really like to fault guys for that so much. It's like, it's, you can be like, oh, well, if I put this guy in this system, like, he would do the same thing. And it's like, okay, so that's a hypothetical.
Right.
And, like, if that guy did the same thing, he would be good. But Jared Goff, who's actually doing that thing in that system, like, we're going to fault him for it. I don't know. It just sounds funny to me. And besides that, it's like Jared Goff has done it in multiple systems at this point. He went to a Super Bowl with the Rams. It's like the Lions have gone through a couple different offensive coordinators since he's been there. And they're still putting up big numbers.
Yeah.
When you talk about pure pocket passer in the NFL, Jared Goff is least mobile quarterback maybe of any of these guys.
Yes.
Like, seriously, the least mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
He is standing still, and he's just, he's decisive. He processes things quickly. He's accurate. And he gets the job done. And they're putting together one of the best offenses in the NFL the past few years, no matter who's calling the plays.
Right.
So I just have a hard time putting him really much lower. I'm sure you can make a strong case that a lot of these guys I have under him are more talented than him, but I mean, they just haven't been able to do what Jared Goff has really been able to do for a while now.
Yeah, so for me, I have Goff at 18, which is admittedly low. I'd probably move him up a couple spots if I redid this list right now. But the knock on him is just that under pressure, he's not the same guy. And you could probably say that about everybody, right? But it's just a little too consistently present that he has to deal with high pressure situations, and not even just like down and distance, just there's guys in your face, and then like you said, not mobile whatsoever.
Yeah,
so his ability to extend plays is really non-existent.
Yeah.
So like I said, could probably bump him up in the top half, 18 being bottom half, but that's the hang up for me on him. But,
yeah, I have Purdy right after, and like I said, to me, I think those are maybe two of the most interchangeable guys on my list.
Yeah.
I think the thing with me is that, like I said, I kind of like both of them are guys that kind of get knocked for being products of their system, and it's like I've at least seen Jared Goff in multiple different systems at this point, whereas Brock Purdy, we've never seen him play outside of the Kyle Shanahan system.
Yeah.
And as well as he does, and they've been to Super Bowls, they've won lots of playoff games, and he's been extremely successful. And he deserves a lot more credit than he gets. At the end of the day, it's like I really have never seen him play outside of this system that's known to put together some pretty good quarterbacks.
Right. To really just not even make great quarterbacks, but to really cater to whatever their quarterback's able to do. I mean, we saw Mac Jones step in and play like a starting quarterback.
Right, I think that's a big thing too that kind of did not help Purdy.
Yeah. But in his own right, I mean, Purdy can be mobile if he's got to be. He does make good decisions with the ball. He's not a
to be fair,
machine.
I think that's more of a credit to Mac Jones than it is a knock to Brock Purdy. Mac Jones is a solid QB that probably could start for a handful of teams.
Probably. I mean, once we get to the back end of this list,
Definitely.
I'm sure we can probably get there. But for me, I have Trevor Lawrence at 11 instead of Jared Goff you had.
Yeah.
Last year is a big part of that. Had his probably best season of his career with Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen sticks around, so I expect them to continue to develop within the way that Liam Cohen wants to run that offense. Good players around him. He was a number 1 overall pick, so he has some inherent just ability. But there are definitely some miscues. Sometimes he tries to force things where he really shouldn't, and they turn into really bad turnovers. But his rushing production last year led me to ranking him a little bit higher, just because he was able to put together a really good season.
Yeah, that's fair. I have him coming up here in my next tier, my 5th tier of quarterbacks, which are guys that I think are good players but need great situations around them to win.
Yeah, this is the tier that I'm at with that as well.
And starting off in that tier, I have Jalen Hurts at 14. Yeah. I think Jalen Hurts is...
What do you have at 13?
At 13, I have Purdy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and Hurts at 14. I think Hurts is probably the most overhated quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here saying I think he's elite. He's not in my top 10. He's not in my top 12. He's barely just in my top 15. But I think that's where he deserves to be. I mean, yeah, he has almost a perfect situation around him, but with the perfect situation around him, he can win a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
Is that not what you would want from a quarterback? Like,
right.
if how many of these guys, like I said, again, we could sit here all day and talk about hypotheticals about if Baker Mayfield was on the Eagles, they could do that too. It's like, okay, could they? You could say that,
right.
but I know that Jalen Hurts can do it. I've seen him do it.
Right.
It's so it's just hard for me to really knock him too far. Not to mention too, just his durability, consistency. He's. I think this maybe comes off as insulting, but he is kind of in some ways like a glorified game manager, or a game manager with high rushing upside.
Yeah, this is funny. This is where I leaned away from fantasy, because his rushing production alone puts him in the top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah, and you could sit there and be like, well, it's all tush pushes. A lot of it is tush pushes, sure, but you don't think this guy would still get rushing touchdowns or still be able to make plays with his legs without the tush push?
And if the tush push was the best thing in the world, then why isn't everody doing it at the same clip?
Yeah, exactly. Jared Goff isn't getting 15 touchdowns off a tush push. You know what I'm saying?
Might be getting 15 touchdowns.
He is, but it's Trevor Lawrence isn't getting 50 touchdowns. It's CJ Stroud's not getting 50. This is a very specific guy that can handle this type of situation. He's one of the strongest quarterbacks in the NFL.
100%.
So yeah, that's where I have him.
Yeah,
And I have Trevor Lawrence right after in that list as well. On 15.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have Hurts at 15. I have Baker Mayfield slotted in ahead of Jalen Hurts, and it's just because every time I watch him, it feels like he flips a switch at a certain point in the game when they really need it, and he just has that dog in him that
Baker?
This tier is almost like I can go to war with this guy, like you said, if it's the right situation. And Baker is 100% that kind of criteria.
He's a way funner guy to root for, 100%.
For sure.
I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, fiery as all hell. But that's where I have Baker. Comfortable with that.
That's fair. I have Baker starting off my next tier. Finishing off the rest of this perfect situation quarterback tier. I have Bo Nix and Sam Darnold at 16 and 17. I think that those guys are just solid, consistent quarterbacks, and when put in the right system, whether that's Sean Payton or Clint Kubiak, and they have a strong defense and team around them, they're able to win games. And I think that goes a long way. They're accurate. They don't turn the ball over too much. Well, Bo Nix doesn't. Sam Darnold kind of had some issues at some point this year.
Seeing ghosts.
But I think, after winning 14 games with the Vikings and then going over there and winning the Super Bowl,
with the Seahawks,
I think Sam Darnold deserves a little bit of credit.
For sure. I definitely didn't give him enough credit on this list. I have him at 20. I do have one more name to slip in the top half of my list. At 16 is Jackson Dart. Kid can run for days. The only thing that he really has to be worried about is just keeping himself out of danger. Because that's the kind of thing that could end your career or put you in some pretty compromising situations. No matter how good you are, you can ask Tua about it. But yeah, getting Neighbors back in a really good situation with where he's at, new head coach, should be a fresh breath of air. Even though he's only entering his second season, I think that he's got a really high ceiling.
He's somebody that could fly up my list for sure. So finishing off this tier here, I have Nix and Darnold, 16, 17. And then starting this next tier, I have these three guys that are highly drafted players that have shown elite flashes in their career, but have just had a roller coaster up and down. And starting that off is Baker Mayfield. Highly drafted, first overall to Cleveland. Looked great. Cleveland should have never let him go, but they did. And then Cleveland he kind of struggled for a couple years. Panthers, Rams, bounced around. He finally found a home here in Tampa Bay. He looked great. There was a point in the last year where we were talking about Baker for MVP.
That's 100% true.
Injuries hit, whether that was Mike Evans or Ibuka or Baker himself, offensive line. They really struggled the second half of the year, ended up missing the playoffs. But like I said, Baker at his peak is probably a lot higher than this, but he just hasn't played a full 17 games really at that peak, or at least not enough for me. And then I have 19 CJ Stroud and 20 Kyler Murray.
Okay.
I just think that those guys at their peak can be a lot higher than that. They just don't play at those levels consistently, whether that's injuries for Kyler Murray or I don't know what it is with CJ Stroud. He's someone that could even fall down this list potentially, the way he ended last year. If that kind of starts off into this year, I think that there will be some questions and concerns about him, but that's why I have them slotted right now.
Personally, I have CJ Stroud and Murray at 23, 25 respectively. I'm just not as optimistic that they can achieve those heights. Although I have CJ Stroud ranked higher than Murray, I think I'm probably more optimistic that Murray has the higher ceiling going into this year.
Yeah, I agree.
But for me, I also have Nix at 17. I have Goff at 18, who we already talked about. Darnold at 20, but slotted between Goff and Darnold, I have one of your guys, Tyler Shough. Yeah. Improved situation in New Orleans. They play in a division that is always readily available for whoever wants to step up and take it. And he showed that he can be mobile. He can handle some pressure situations. And maybe I wouldn't want him as my starting quarterback over a guy like Sam Darnold going into a game, but there's reason to think that maybe you do.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how that pans out this upcoming season. And that is a good segue into my next tier here, moving into tier 7. Right outside the top 20, I have 4 guys, mostly second-year quarterbacks, kind of just like unproven commodities, but have shown flashes. Starting that off, I have Jackson Dart at 21. I think that he was just electric last year when he played.
He was.
They didn't really win a lot of games, but oh man, that offense was fun to watch. Him, Scadaboo.
A lot of close ones though, if I'm not mistaken. So flip the coin.
Some of it comes down to coaching, and I'm sure that's why the coaching staff changed. They blew a lot of leads, unfortunately. But then after that, I have Cam Ward at 22. and Shuck at 23, which could be interchangeable. I think I gave Cam Ward the nod, maybe because he was the first overall pick. And, I think he was in a little bit tougher of a situation. But man, when Tyler Shuck came in, as somebody that was really not rooting for him at all, as a Spencer Rattler, Gamecocks fan,
right.
I really did not want to see Tyler Shuck succeed. But he came in and played really well, and they actually were winning some games. So I do want to give him, a little praise there. But I do think that Cam Ward probably has the higher ceiling long term, but you could make those interchangeable for me as well, to be honest.
I've got Cam at 21, and I want to jump in on him for a second just because I think his situation going into this season is incredibly improved over his last year's situation.
100%.
Running backs are the same, but you upgrade Cardinal Tate, you upgrade to a little Wan'Dale Robinson as like a underneath guy that you give a little bit more of a security blanket. We've got to talk about Gunnar Helm, but I do like him. The head coach, Robert Saleh, and the OC, Brian Dable.
Yeah, the biggest thing is Brian Dable.
They're going to bring a nice, almost like a more professional approach to the game, I think. I couldn't even tell you who the head coach in Tennessee was last year. They seemed like they were fishing for an early pick, and that's exactly what they got. But it feels like this year they're far more built to be a competitive team within a division that is also available. Less available than the NFC South, but still. I think that he can take a step this year.
For sure. I think all these guys can and should take steps this year. The order that I have them right now could change a lot. And that's why I have them kind of all in this same position, really.
Yeah, same bucket.
And then the last guy I have, which was, I thought a bit about it, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to put this guy there because he really hasn't played much. But I put Malik Willis there. Just because I think he played extremely well in those few games last year for the Packers. And I liked him coming out as a prospect, too. He could easily be really nothing by the end of the year. Or he could, actually look like potentially a solution there at quarterback, if depending how all things go.
Yeah, he's on a 2-year deal, and he'll have all of those 2 years to make or break his future in the NFL, really.
Yeah, he's definitely probably the most difficult one to slot on this list personally for me. I just think that I would rather roll the dice on him than the rest of the guys that I have on the list personally.
That's fair. One guy that I have ahead of where I have Malik Willis that I'd be willing to roll dice on is Bryce Young. I think that Carolina's improved their situation as well. Their defense is getting a little bit better with some of the edge rushers they've invested in.
That's fair.
They invested in Monroe Freeling. I believe that's who they took in the first round, bolster their offensive line a little bit. Big Ted McMillan guy. I think that he is destined to be like a top. Over his career, he'll have a couple of top 10 finishes, maybe just or wide receiver 1, top 12 finishes. But I think that they've got some pieces in place now where you can really kind of see what you've got in Bryce Young and whether or not that's someone to hitch your wagon to.
Yeah, I like Bryce Young. I really do. I liked him a lot coming out of college. And I had a hard time slotting him as well. I just think because of his size and it's not like he has the strongest arm in the world. I just think that he just doesn't really have the upside of some of these other guys. I do think that in a better scenario, which like you said, maybe we're finally getting a chance to see that, he could be a pretty solid, pretty good quarterback. But I feel like he has Brock Purdy level talent. That is his ceiling maybe to me, which is good. I have Brock Purdy at 13. Brock Purdy's been to the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy's a good quarterback.
Situation. You put them in the perfect situation, he's going to be successful. But
for sure,
it's hard to find that when you're limited in.
And also, if that's your ceiling to me, it's it's hard for me to really kind of put you much higher. But I have him at 26, and I have him in this next tier. I have Daniel Jones at 25, and he could have been a lot higher. If it wasn't for this Achilles injury, which is a pretty serious injury, and with how late it was into the season, there's a good chance he misses the start of the year. I probably would have had him at 21 and just bumped down that whole group of young, unproven guys. Yeah. But I do have him at 25 because of that, and just because, outside of the last, the first 10 games of last year, it's not like Daniel Jones really showed me much the first 6 years of his NFL career.
Right.
And then I have Aaron Rodgers at 27. I almost put him in this next year I have, but I feel like he deserves a little more respect than that.
I don't know about that. 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers does not
My last tier is just like vet guys that can like start a few games for you, and maybe that is all Aaron Rodgers is at this point. But I just have a little more respect for him than this next rounding it out here. Where you got Aaron Rodgers at?
I've got Rodgers at 29.
Okay,
I do have
27.
I do have Tua Tagovailoa one spot ahead of him, and I did take the liberty of choosing Fernando Mendoza as the Raiders quarterback in this list, and had him at 26 behind Kyler Murray ahead of Malik Willis.
I almost put Mendoza in like that group of like Ward, Shuck, Jackson. But I was like, I think they're probably gonna end up starting.
They probably will, but
I
would guess that Mendoza plays the majority of the snaps
the
majority of the games by the end of the season. But as a rookie, there's very little to know about him. It does not in the best situation. I mean, he's gonna.
Yeah, it's also hard to rank a guy that's never played.
Right, he's gonna pepper Brock Bowers if there's anything that I am willing to bet on. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers at 29 with pretty much the same as you said. Like this group of guys is pretty much just gonna get you through Sundays. They're not gonna take you to a promised land, except for Geno Smith, of course. If you heard Aaron Glenn say that Geno Smith was gonna take him to the promised land, I'm not sure.
Now we're on Cade Klubnik watch over here.
Yeah, we are
at WEBR.
Yeah.
That's speaking of finishing off I have 2 tiers left. I have these 4 guys that are just vets that'll start a few games for you, probably start a few games over the next few years for random teams in and out. Jacoby Brissett at 28. Honestly, solid guy that actually proved he can, put up a solid offense last year.
Holds the record for most completions in the game.
And very impressive. I mean, that is going to be one of my favorite fun facts for a long time.
Forever.
And then at 29, I have Tua. I think Tua, how depending on things go, he can move up this list, but he also could just be out of the league. So who knows with that guy?
One more concussion.
Kirk Cousins and Geno at 30 and 31. I mean, those guys are just on their way out the door. They've had some pretty solid careers, all things considered, especially Kirk Cousins.
Especially Kirk.
But at this point of their career, they're, like I said, just some guys to kind of, mentor a young QB, start some games, kind of just keep the ship afloat for a little bit until the next guy comes. And I think that's probably where they deserve to be at this point. And then in my final tier, tier 10, solo, by himself, Deshaun Cosby.
What do you call that tier?
Jail. It's actually a shame that he is probably going to start games in the NFL. I will not be watching, and if I do, it'll be hate watch.
You could have just done Shedeur Sanders.
I would have liked to do Shedeur Sanders, and if I believed that Shedeur Sanders would be the week 1 starter, I would have. But unfortunately, they're the Cleveland Browns, and they might be starting Deshaun Cosby.
You think Sanders plays more games than Cosby?
I hope so.
But okay.
Bleck's got Shedeur, Brissett there
One
at the
ahead
end.
of Geno.
One ahead of Geno. Geno's the worst quarterback
Geno's
in the league.
taking him to the promised land.
I got 31. Bleck's got 32. I'm sure if Bleck had Cosby, he'd be at 32 as well.
I would agree, yes. But the promised land is pick number 1, so Geno, you're going to be...
Cade Klubnik, week 7. I'm looking at you. Come on.
Is that when we play him?
I don't know.
I hope so.
That was fun, though. I enjoyed doing these rankings. It was cool to see the differences and talk about it. As always, thanks for listening. Check us out on YouTube and on Instagram, Bleck and AZ. We're uploading stuff pretty much almost every other day now, and we have full video breakdowns as well. Thanks for listening, and go Bills.
Go Bills.